So the listening tours that I've been on to date, it's come up with this, and this is an equation that has taken me a decade to understand, to write, to manipulate. I've changed it, I've built it, I've debated over it, I've asked people to prove me less right, and to date, this is what it looks like. Can everybody see this? Just take a minute and look at that. That stands for vision, mission, values over principles and ethos to the 10th times teams multiplied by leadership, all multiplied by behaviors, and that equals culture. So I'm going to talk about how I arrived at that. From 2019 February to 2020 February, I went on a listening tour again. I interviewed 50 entrepreneurs and 50 VCs in venture capital. I did this because when I took a step back and looked at my network, all the people that I knew, trusted, and inspired me, and this is all the young people in the audience and those that are perhaps more wise in their years, this is something that you should do also. You should take an audit. If not, when you're asking yourself the question, what's next, take an audit of who inspires you. When I took that audit of who inspires me, there were 50 people here and 50 people there. And as it turns out, they were all entrepreneurs or VCs. So I said, okay, I don't know whether I'm supposed to be an entrepreneur or a VC. So I went out and interviewed 50 entrepreneurs, all between the stages of financing between seed and A. Now, mind you, I have no background in finance. I have no background in investing. But these entrepreneurs and these VCs really inspired me. On the VC side, I interviewed about $88 billion of net worth over the span of 6 months. Now, I'm not saying that for any other reason that I had no investing experience whatsoever. After I got done interviewing those 50 VCs, I came to 2 realizations. One, I could totally do what you do. That was the first realization. And 2, when I asked them tough questions about teams, leadership, and culture, it became foggy for them the deeper they went into their answers. And so there's a place, there's the spot that I could create some clarity for all of Silicon Valley, as crazy as that sounds. But for all of Silicon Valley, I can create clarity around TLC. And why is TLC important? Well, the first 6 months of me running around Silicon Valley and bothering entrepreneurs that started off as lunches, that turned into lunches, then tours. Some turned into lunches, tours, then a dinner. Some turned into dinner to drinks till 2 a.m. I needed to go where they were at and ask them difficult questions. And I didn't ask them any business questions. It wasn't about that. I wanted to know where they came from. I wanted to know about the emotionally shaping stories of their life between the ages of 0 and 10. I wanted to ask them questions like, who are you becoming? And most importantly, how did you even arrive at this place? And where do you attribute all your success and failure to? Well, I kept getting the exact same answer. From all the entrepreneurs, I kept hearing the exact same thing, meaning, where do you attribute all your success to? And they would say, oh man, we have great teams. And the leadership here is sharp. Our culture is trending up and to the right. Okay, remarkable. Now, what about your failures? Tell me all about your failures. I want to know about those. Well, there was a time where we hired bad teams. At one point in time, the leadership was horrible. And our culture was turning toxic and trending down to the right. It's like, okay. Now, when I would interview the VCs, now mind you, these are Forbes, Midas Touch, greatest investors in the world. Some of them are very technical people, some of them are not. Some of them are more qualitative kind of founders, and some are quantitative type founders. And I said, what do you invest in, Mr. and Mrs. VC? And they would say, well, we invest in great teams. We seek them out at all costs. Because in the early stages of any business, the only thing we can measure are the teams. It just started. There's no track record. It's a year old. It was on a whiteboard 6 months ago. So when you really look at early stage investment, you're looking at teams. And then what else do you invest in, Mr. and Mrs. VC? Well, we look for great leaders, people that give attributes of humility and self-sacrifice and a certain level of obsession about what they're doing. That's what we look for. We look for great leadership, people that are not just going to look at people as if they are themselves in charge, but they want to serve those that are in their charge. Those are 2 very different philosophies on how to lead. My first Google search to start honor.org was, how do you be a CEO? I had no idea. I had no idea. No one knows how to do this stuff. Like, you don't. And then once I heard that from them, and then asked them the follow-on question, well, what made horrible investments? Oh man, when the teams turn sour, when leadership exhibits these types of traits, when the culture starts to become toxic and trends down into the right, it destroys the whole company. My last question to both sets of those audiences was very direct. Is there a single firm in Silicon Valley that focuses only on teams, leadership, and culture as their thesis, their investment thesis, meaning we filter our investments through a team's leadership and culture filter, and the rubric that we've created is very much based on human psychology and biology and the history of things that are universal. And I ask really tough questions. Like, these are very difficult questions. Like, what type of man are you? What type of woman are you? Do you consider yourself to be a leader? And if you do, define it for me. Most people don't know their own definition of teams, what it means to them. Leadership, what it means to them. Culture, how is that defined by you? I define culture super simply, which is the way things are done around here. That's culture. The world doesn't know it yet, but TLC is worth much more than that. And it's proving in our returns. I am a hopeless optimist, altruist, and I'm tired of people telling me that soft skills, cannot be quantified. It's the soft skills that are the hard skills. And when I think about the equation that I showed all of you, vision, mission, values to the 10th, there's a reason for that. Because listen to what I happened to stumble across. Just as I found out that 13% of Navy SEALs do not have jobs, now 97% of Navy SEALs have jobs within 30 days of leaving their program. Our program, thanks to people like Miguel and the thousands of mentors, coaches, faculty we have around the country, we have to surround a problem with the community in order for it to be solved. We have to surround it with people who believe what we believe, that these men and women coming from this community deserve a clear path. Our vision at the foundation was crystal clear. We imagined a world where 70,000 special operators experienced a seamless transition. That's a world that we'll never achieve. It's unachievable. It's unrealistic. It's idealistic. Doesn't matter. That's the point of a vision. It's supposed to be that way. Our mission, so remember the equation, VMV, our vision was crystal clear. Our mission was crystal clear, to serve others with honor for life so their next mission is clear and continues to impact the world. Our mission hasn't changed from day one. Our vision hasn't changed from day one. Our values were my initial values. Alongside our teams, we create experiences. We are laser focused. We need you to be you. All of these things and so on and so forth. Our values were crystal clear. VMV to the 10th. Until I said that to the 10x power, did I begin to recruit the right teammates, the right leadership, and then begin to build the right culture at that foundation that attracted the fellows. Now, when I interviewed all of those entrepreneurs, I just want to say this. Here's what I came up with. Now, nearly 18 months later, so brilliant. I love talking about this because it was so clear to me. I could finally quantify the people that were crystal clear on their vision, mission, value set, their principles, their ethos, when they could talk about their teams, their leadership and culture with absolute clarity. 1 out of 10 could do that. 1 out of 10 could do that. And for all the founders on the call, or for any founders that listen to this, ask yourself this question. If I were to silo your executive team in 6 or 5 different offices, and I come in and I sit down with the founder and I say, tell me the vision of this company. Thank you so much. I'll give them a definition. The vision is very simple. It's the world we imagine and hope to achieve alongside others. Give me the definition. Give me your response to vision. Mission. Tell me why you and your people get up every day to put their feet on the ground. Simple. Mission. Tell me what that is. Values, your internal moral compass here at the organization. Tell me what you think the values are of this organization. And founders are great. They're going to go off into these stories. They're going to tell me where it came from, and it's remarkable. And I say, thank you very much. I'm going to go ask your co-founder the same questions, and I want to see if he or she tells me the same thing. And I would see the blood rush from their face every time, every single time. And then when I left the co-founder, I would say, okay, I'm going to go ask your chief of product the same questions. I want to see if they tell me the same thing. Blood rush from their face. And by the time I got across the executive team, 1 out of 10 of those organizations could effectively tell me the same story, not groupthink. This is different than that. They told me similar stories around the vision, mission, value set, and then they connected it to something very personal to them. All I've done is find a very simple equation. I focus on things that are universally true. Every success story leaves these breadcrumbs and trails of, it all comes back to teams, leadership, and culture in my mind. My job as an investor, my job as a person, as a friend, as a human, as an instructor, as a coach, as a facilitator, as a VC, as an entrepreneur, as a dad, is to root out misalignment. None of us feel good when we're misaligned. We don't. And we actually always know when we're doing something that is aligned or misaligned. We do. Like we do. We know it. We feel it. There's something inside of us that makes us go, oh, this isn't right. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. What's next, right? I'm not sure. We actually do know when we think about it hard enough and listen to ourselves. So right now, the idea of TLC is catching on. I love it when I'm going to do an example in real time, and then I'm going to open up for questions. But the idea of TLC is very real, and it's starting to catch on when I hear entrepreneurs that are in our portfolio on a stage somewhere in the world, you know, say we focus on TLC at this organization. I'm like, yes, yes. Like the world needs more TLC, right? It really does. And when they do talk about us, when they do talk about that, it's because we've been through a very specific exercise. And I want to use something as an example of this exercise. I've created not only a filter, but an entire coaching mechanism and model around how to arrive at an extraordinary culture. And it's about working backwards. And it is quite linear. How clear are you on your vision, your mission, your value set? The trick question I ask the founders are, hey, so tell me about the process or framework you use to co-create your vision, mission, values. It's like, whoa, wait, what? What do you mean? Framework, process implies you have one. Co-created, co-authored meant that it's not just you. You can't get people to do anything if they don't have buy-in, if it's not part of them. And in the earliest stages, why I'm focusing on early stage and not late stage, when we hear about these horrific, you know, backwards cultures, where did it go wrong and why? When we hear about large corporations, when their cultures have just completely turned sour and they spend billions of dollars are lost and billions of dollars are gained because of it's all because of a bad culture. It began toxic slowly. If we all took a bucket of the cleanest water on the planet and dropped 1 drop of black food coloring in that bucket, what happens? The whole thing turns black. That's how we need to think about culture.